Why do you like cars? So my journey has started just like many of you guys. Usually it's through your dad. But guys, before we get down to this video, do me a favor, please subscribe to this channel. It would help me out so I could help you out and we could help each other out and do some fun stuff. So I learned at a very young age that cars create emotion. There's just something about a car, a feeling that it's just hard to explain. I remember as a kid going to monster truck races with my father, the NHRA, car shows, autoramas, all that stuff when I was a kid. It just always stuck with me. And that's what I love about cars, is that cars give you an emotion that's just really hard to explain if you're not a car person. Whether you're hot rods, muscle cars, imports, exotic supercars, hypercars, whatever it is, it's just you know what I'm talking about. You see a vehicle and you're just like, dang, you just feel it, like, oh man. That's why so many people go out to Cars and Coffees and events and car shows. They're gonna stand along the roadways on the risk of getting ran over by a Mustang or a Camaro, but they're gonna stand on the side of the road watching cars just drive off. I want you guys to comment below, what was your first car? Like, what was it for you? The very first car you saw that were like, dang, it just like, oh, I gotta have that one day. Or, you know, whatever it is. Like, I wanna hear it from you guys. Like, so my very first car was a 1989 Nissan Hardbody mini truck. We bought it at a police auction and I loved it. That truck was already painted green and had a pink wave going around it, and the back of the tailgate said Radical Dude with Bart Simpson. It was all airbrushed. Back in the early 90s, man, that was like straight up magazine quality trucks. But I loved that truck, and that truck really started my car culture ways, because it brought me into joining a car club. We'd roll in packs in my Nissan truck. I would get pulled over all the time in my truck. It got keyed up really bad, so then we eventually painted it peach with red pearl. And I got that color by looking, I was coming back from vacation with my family, and then as we were driving, I was looking out the window and a huge line of hot rods passed us. And these hot rods, there was one particular rod that drove by us that was this bright peach color. It was like a Ford, I don't know, it was like a 3-window coupe, and I thought that was the prettiest color I've ever seen. So when the time came to get my truck painted, and that's what I wanted, so I had my truck painted peach with red pearl. It was called Sherbet Pearl, well, that was the name of the color. And I loved it. It was beautiful. It looked like nail polish. But with that, I started doing more customizing in my truck. I started, I had 415 kickers and all Hyphonics amps. I had custom neon made, because at the time we didn't have LED lights. It was all neon. It was like legit real neon light, neon tubes you put under your car. And so at the time, they only offered just kind of your standard colors, but I ended up getting a custom peach colored neon to match my truck. And lo and behold, I get pulled over one day for perpetrating an ambulance. Yes, perpetrating an ambulance. That was what the ticket said. And the judge laughed and threw it out. But it didn't stop there. So we try to lower our trucks. It's kind of like the stance now, how you guys are with the cars and stuff. But you just get it as low as you possibly could. We're talking about 13-inch wheels and such. They were small, wide. Guys were running Daytons and McLeans, and the harassment from the cops started. I was getting pulled over every day, it seemed, going to school, coming home, anytime I went out, for my truck being too low. And I wasn't scraping. My truck was not scraping on the concrete or anything like that. It was low. It was just two huge, gigantic speed bumps, and there's no way to go around it. And I'm like, dang. So I had to take them on, and then I got stuck on the speed bumps in front of the club. And then the officers that were out front, of course they're laughing. And then they had to help me and get out, and we were teetering and pushing my truck over the speed bumps. And of course I got a ticket for being too low. And then I would get tickets just driving down the street. I would get pulled over for being too low. Oh, those are good times. And then another time leaving high school. So I had 415s. I mean, it hit hard, but not like, I mean, I knew guys that had like 1215s at that time, or they'd have, 4 to 6 18s in their trucks. So I just had 415s. But there's a time I'm in high school and we're all hanging out outside. We're all hanging out by our trucks. Notice, it's like, man, there's a cop circling around the school. And we're all laughing like, who's he gonna pull over? He's gonna pull over one of us, and he's waiting for us. We're just joking around. But sure enough, as soon as I pull out, he pulls me over. Really? I just left high school. I wasn't even, so I get pulled over. The cop says he was serving me a ticket, and my ticket was for something that happened the previous day. He said I had a neighbor behind the high school that I would go through this neighborhood on my way home. And he said a neighbor called the police and filed a complaint on me because I was knocking pictures off their wall. So I get a ticket for that, and I thought that was weird, but I'm young, I'm in high school. So I go to court. I got a ticket for noise pollution. So as I go to court, the judge is like, hey, okay, I'm gonna let you off the hook, but you have to write a 1,000-word essay on respecting other people's property. Yeah, I did. So I wrote it, and I turned it in. And I know damn well they didn't even read it. And I don't even know what I wrote, and I was counting word for word until I hit 1,000 words. So I wrote it, turned it in, didn't go on my record, but still, that's the kind of stuff that I was doing all the time when I had a lowrider truck back in the 90s in high school. They just, man, cops hated us. And then came the Mustangs. So immediately when I got the Mustang, we started doing some stuff to it. We started doing like intakes, exhaust, Flowmasters, stuff like that. But it was fast, or fast enough. At least at the time I thought it was fast, because I'm coming from a little slow-ass 4-cylinder Nissan hardbody that if you drove over 40 miles per hour, you bounce yourself off the road. So coming from that to a Mustang, a V8, and it was a massive difference. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Had the Mustang for about a couple of years, and then it gets stolen. This time I'm in college, a Mustang gets stolen while I'm in school, and that sucked. So instead of getting another Mustang, because at that time I was already on 2 years in, I kind of have like a 2-year thing. 2 years in, I'm like, I want to get something else. And that's when the import phase was really starting to kick off. Civics, Preludes, CRX hatchbacks, that whole culture then, Supras, it caught my eye. I was all in. Like, this is pre-Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious wasn't even out. It wasn't even a thought at this point. This is like the OGs of the import scene. So this is when I first met Kenny with Jotech Motorsports, all the crew, Tony Paolo and all the guys with them. This is like the early days. After the Mustang got stolen, I ended up buying a Honda Del Sol. I know, a Del Sol. So I got the Del Sol, and I love that car. And there's something always about me that's been different with cars, because I always want to get something that is unique. There was all this, I didn't see too many Del Sols at the time. As a matter of fact, there was a magazine, I think it was Super Street, Super Street magazine, and I'm flipping through, and there was a spread of this yellow Del Sol in there that had a body kit and everything on it. I fell in love with that car. I was like, man, it looks like a little mini Ferrari. Like, I loved it with a target top and everything. So that's what I got. I ended up getting a green Del Sol because I wanted to be unique and just different. This is before really there was wraps, and people weren't wrapping their cars back then. So I got the green Del Sol. Immediately after having it, got wheels on it, saved up. I bought a body kit, saved up, a wing and stuff, and I started doing like, JG cams, Gretty exhaust. So I got down that road, and it was pretty quick. We were street racing all the time. We were racing in our little Hondas, Mustangs, and Camaros and such, and then we'd take them on. Then it got to the point to where I blew my engine. So it was time for a swap. We ended up going with an Integra GSR motor. And then we did kind of your basic bolt-ons and such to it. And then that car was like so much faster. We were racing it. We were taking it out to Ennis, Texas Motorplex, Drag Wars, all the import show off, all that stuff. And it got so funny, like reminiscing on all this stuff. So then, after my journey with my Del Sol, my first Del Sol, I had one of the first Lexus IS300s in Dallas, and it was a yellow one. And I love that car because it was at the time, it was just like the Toyota Alteza. And the JDM days, and that's like, oh, the tail lights were amazing. Lo and behold, everybody started putting the damn tail lights on their freaking Civics and everything. So everything I loved about that car was mainly the tail lights. Everybody started putting them on everything. I think Pep Boy started to sell those taillights, and I was crushed. It just pissed me off so much. So then I sold that car. And then I don't know why, but I went back into another Del Sol. And this is the Del Sol I bought. A friend, he was just a friend. And then I bought a yellow Del Sol that had a GSR swap, turbo, had everything, body kit. That yellow Del Sol, I ended up having so many issues with it because the wiring was so screwed up from the guy I bought it from that I ended up just selling that car. I don't even think I kept it a year. Started running into issues, so sold that one. And then I went from that yellow Del Sol and bought a Nissan 350Z that was black. And I was like, I want something. After my second Del Sol experience, that I bought, I was like, oh, I just want something that's reliable. I gotta work, I go to school, all this stuff. So I ended up buying a black 350Z. I put 20-inch rims on it and lowered, and that was it. That's all I did. I thought it looked beautiful. It just had the right height, to sit right. It was, I didn't put exhaust on it, but at the end of the day, it was reliable. And then that's what I wanted. That was more important than anything. A good looking, reliable car. And then I became a father. I was already married to my wife now, and we started to talk about starting a family. And my 350Z, remember, I only had one car. I never had any garage queens or nothing. I only had daily drivers. Couldn't afford anything beyond that. And when we found out I was having our first child, I had to get rid of the Z. And I was like, I was excited. I was excited to be a father. So I was like happily ready to sell it because I'm starting a new journey and then new career paths and all this stuff. That at that moment, after I sold that, I ended up driving a hand-me-down Mercury Mountaineer that was just god-awful ugly. And then from that moment on, after selling my 350Z, I only had trucks. I had trucks forever, and they were they were stock trucks. I didn't do anything with them. Starting a family, getting my career going, we're young, married, and all my car fun was just on hold. And then I started my own brand of barbecue grills. So I had my barbecue grill company for 10 years, ended up selling that. And of course, while I had my grill company, it was just a truck. I drove a truck everywhere. I'm always hauling stuff. I'm buying materials, and car didn't make sense. And again, I didn't have the space. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the money to buy a car that I really wanted. I wanted a GTR at this point so bad. GTR has been like one of my dream cars. Next to a Lamborghini. It's been more of my like obtainable dream car, I guess you could say. But the way the price at the time, first coming out, I couldn't afford them. And I was like telling myself, one day when the prices start dropping, I'm going to buy a GTR. Well, and then we kind of see how the prices have gone. They went down, then they've gone up, and then just the GTRs out there. If you're going to find one that hasn't already been dragged out or something, or the chances of some other shop working on it and you don't know if it's worth it or not, then I passed on my dream of owning a GTR, at least right now. So I still have a dream of owning a GTR one day. Because they're not making them anymore. The ones that are out, it's just if you could find one, they're like unicorns. And just because of that, I don't know if I'll ever own a GTR. It's been my dream car, but as I stated before, I'm always looking for something different. I want something that's a little bit more unique. You're not going to see it on the road everywhere. I feel that way about GTRs. Unless you're going to a car meet or something, you just don't normally come across GTRs on the road. That's something I really like about those cars. But with mine, I ended up buying an LC 500, kind of for the same thing. Definitely doesn't have the performance as a GTR, but I think it definitely has the looks. It's unique. They only sold 2,000 of these in the United States in 2018, and that's been about the going every year. When they came out in 2017, they've only been selling about 2,000 a year in the US, and that's not many of them, and that's what I love about this car. But now you got an idea about how my car journey has gone, and I'm just excited to be in the position I'm at now to where I can have cars. I don't know how long I'll keep this. I'm building it up. I bought it, it was stock. I put the 22-inch wheels on it. We lowered it. I'm doing a little aesthetic stuff. This weekend, my body kit will arrive. So we will put a body kit on here next weekend, I believe. And then you'll notice the other projects I have in my dirty garage, which I got to do some cleaning. Spring cleanings here. I got to pull everything out of this garage, get it back in order. Yes, that is a Shelby 427 Cobra. It is a super performance kit. But this is my dad's car, and he doesn't drive it. I've had it in my garage for the past 2 years, and I need to get this starting to run. I haven't had a chance to touch it, but that's gonna be another YouTube. I need to get this thing running so we can get it back on the streets. My dad, as I said at the beginning of this video, because my dad taking me at such a young age to all these automotive events, it really created something in me. My wife doesn't understand, but she accepts it. So even my dad, he still has he has a car collection. We got a C7 Z06 with only 10,000 miles on it. His Boss 302 Laguna Seca. There's the few cars, and of course the Cobra. So maybe here soon we can get the Z06 on the channel. It's beautiful, it's white and black, kind of just like my LC. And maybe that is a car that I could take off his hands one day and we could do some stuff. And then that will be the street fast car. And then of course this is just a low and slow cruiser. At the end of the day, that's the whole reason for this video. I want to hear from you. I want to see if you have a similar story. And I want to do this, you know, this YouTube channel is something I've just been wanting to do for you guys and for me. My creative outlet with cars. And you know, it's just getting started. I got so many plans for this channel. So please guys, subscribe, like the videos, that'll help me out. Till next one.